Yes, Hamzambo family. Welcome to the Swahili classes for the weekend. I do hope that you're doing wonderful, and I do hope that you're having a fantastic weekend. And if not, I do hope that things will eventually shape up. My name is Pikes, and today we shall be continuing with our classes for Swahili. And remember, we want to have an interactive session right here. So you can always feel free to ask questions, regardless of whether they might be concerning today's class or maybe perhaps something that you have learned previously about Swahili on another different forum. You're free to ask any question right here on this particular session. So welcome to this episode where we continue with where we left off last week. Last week we were learning about the vowels, and we were introduced to a bit of Swahili grammar. We've got to tackle a little bit of some of the common and some of the popular words in Swahili, some of the words in the family unit, some of the words that have to do with our names or nouns and phrases of things that you get to use or get to interact with on a normal day-to-day basis. Things like food, things like fuel, things like money, things like water. So we got to learn about some of those particular things, and we were able to learn about how we get to interpret them in Swahili. Remember, on this platform, you can feel free to ask questions. You can drop your comment. You can drop a question. You can drop a suggestion as well. And we are more than delighted to get to connect with you and get to learn Swahili together. Remember, Swahili is an African language that is spoken widely on the continent with over 150 million speakers on the continent. And I do believe even outside the continent, we do have Swahili speakers, and the number continues to grow. And I do believe one of the reasons as to why Swahili is widely accepted or widely embraced is because it's quite easy to learn. And like other African languages, or compared to other African languages, you do find that Swahili is relatively quite easy to learn. And therefore, that is why maybe perhaps it has gained prominence. On the 7th of July every year, people do get to observe, or people do get to celebrate the International Day of Swahili, or the Swahili International Day, where people just get to reflect and embrace or appreciate the language every year on the 7th day of July. And right here on the BlackHotFire, we do hope that you are able to just come join us and just get to learn maybe perhaps the basic, and not just maybe the basic. You might even become not just a beginner, but even an intermediate learner when it comes to learning Swahili and speaking Swahili, because we believe it is important that you are able to reconnect to your roots and that you are able to maybe communicate in a language that people will get to understand you directly. It helps or it eases that particular process of reconnecting with the roots. If you're speaking about touring, when traveling to Tanzania, you get to realize that in Tanzania, that is the national language. It is also the official language. For example, people in parliament, they communicate in Swahili. People in schools, they communicate in Swahili. People at the marketplace, they communicate in Swahili. And many other places in Tanzania, you realize that Swahili happens to be the national language and also the official language. And I always keep on saying, for example, if you're in a class, maybe you're in a high school, in Tanzania, you're learning your chemistry, you'll actually learn your chemistry in Swahili. And when we did have the founding father of Tanzania, his name was Julius Nyerere. Back then it was known as the Tanganyika, and they had just gained independence. And they decided, or through the leadership, they decided to actually bring everyone together. And one of the ways to bring people together, of course, happens to be through a language. And that is exactly what they did to introduce or to make sure they have made a mandate that Swahili should be taught in schools, and everyone should rally behind this particular language, which is a wonderful African language. So today we shall carry on from where we left last week. And in case you're joining us for the very first time, you are not late. Feel free to engage and interact with us. You can ask questions, you can drop your comments, and you can always feel free to also just interject at any point and ask a question. Last week but one, when we were talking about Swahili and common courtesy, Swahili is a very courteous language. People are very, very polite. It doesn't have to necessarily to be always, but most of the times we do find people being very, very polite. And there are common courtesy words in Swahili. There are various exchanges that entail common courtesy in the East African community, and these entail compliments, requests, among others. And we did say, if at all you want to welcome someone, you do say karibu. You do say karibu, Karibu, karibu. That is the word with 3 syllables, karibu. And karibu simply means welcome, welcome. So if someone tells you karibu, that means they are welcoming you to whatever context, in whatever context this may be. For example, you might be talking about welcome to class. Welcome to class. So someone would say karibu sana darasani. That is, you're very much welcome to class. If it is someone inviting you to their home or welcoming you to their home, then you would actually say karibu nyumbani, which is welcome home, welcome home. If it is maybe perhaps in a different context and they are welcoming you anywhere, it might be at the market, it might be in the classroom, it might be at the convenience store, it might be at the library, it might be at whatever particular setup that might be. But if they say karibu, then you have to understand that means you are much welcome. If someone says asante, it's very popular. If someone says asante, it means they are thankful. Thanks translates into asante. If someone says tafadhali, then that simply means please, and you have already learned this. If someone says pole, they are just expressing their sorry, they are sorry, and they do say pole sana. It means that they are very sorry. If someone says samahani, it means they are saying excuse me. Maybe perhaps it's because they have not heard what you just said, or maybe perhaps it's because they want the right of way, and they just want to, maybe perhaps you're blocking their way, and they do say samahani. It means that they are saying excuse me, and they want to be excused. Maybe perhaps they didn't hear what you said, and maybe perhaps they just want to let you know that they want to pass, and you have blocked the way, and that is how they do say samahani. And if you're talking about someone warning anyone else that beware of this and that, in Swahili we do say tahadhari, and that simply means beware. There might be maybe perhaps barking dogs, or maybe perhaps there might be a dangerous situation ahead, and you're just being warned to be very, very careful and to beware. And we do say tahadhari. And if someone wants to wish you the best of luck, if someone wanted to wish you the best of luck in Swahili, they would just say kila laheri. That is simply how they wish you the best of luck. maybe perhaps you're going to take a test. Maybe perhaps you're going to take a test, or you're going to use the classroom, or maybe perhaps you're going maybe for medical procedure, and they just want to wish you the best of luck. We do say kila laheri, which simply means we wish you the best of luck. We wish you the best of luck. And of course, that was what we did learn last week. And we talked about maybe even things like ownership and the pronouns that also relate to people. For example, he, and for example, they. We talked about those particular pronouns, and we did say, for example, if you're talking about they or them, we do say wale or how. If you're talking about we ourselves, we do say sisi. If you're talking about that one, him or her, you do say yule. You do say yule. And if you're talking about yourself, if you're talking about self, like myself, I do say mimi, which is M-I-M-I. If you're talking about yourself, pointing to you, that would be wewe. For example, I wanted to introduce myself. Maybe perhaps I wanted to introduce myself. And I told you, jina langu ni Spikes. If I told you jina langu ni Spikes, wewe. And wewe simply translates to you. That would be jina langu ni Spikes. Jina langu is Spikes. That would be my name is Spikes. My name is Spikes. And if I did ask J, wewe, J just ignores the start of a question. So if I did say J, wewe, that means how about you? How about you? How about you? He's asking if you try to introduce yourself. And before you introduce yourself, you can simply say hello to someone, and you simply say hujambo, which is hello, and then say jina langu ni Spikes. If I did say hujambo, and then you turn to me and you respond and say sijambo, because the proper response is a sijambo. That is the response for hello. So if I did say hujambo and you responded and said sijambo, then I would go on and say jina langu ni Spikes, and that is understood to be my name is Spikes. And then I would ask J, wewe, which simply means how about you. Or I can also ask na wewe J, that would be how about you. It's also appropriate, and it's also a simplified way of just getting to introduce yourself. Or you can simply also say ninaitwa Spikes, which is known as ninaitwa Spikes, which is I'm known as Spikes. I'm known as. That is how you would say it, and you're just introducing yourself, and you can ask anyone else, how about you? You would say na J, wewe, or you can say wewe J. That is how you would actually get to ask, and it's not complicated. It's not really complicated in any regard. It's actually very, very easy. And I did say that Swahili happens to be one of the easiest languages to learn. If you commit yourself to learning, then maybe perhaps about maybe 2 months or 3 months, depending on your pace of learning, then you can learn the language maybe perhaps even in 3 months, and have the knowledge of basic Swahili. So we go back, we continue with where we left off last week. We learned about how you ask questions in Swahili, and a question in Swahili is regarded to swali, S-W-A-L-I, swali. So if someone asks you, Je, uko na swali? It simply means they are asking you, do you have a question? And the way you respond in the affirmative or the positive, you do say ndio, N-D-I-O, ndio. And if it's in the negative, you do say hapana. Someone asks you, uko na swali? Je, uko na swali? You respond and say ndio. Or you can respond and say hapana. Hapana is simply means no. Or ndio simply means yes. If someone asks you, je, unataka chakula, which is would you like some food? Then you might say yes, which is ndio, or you can even nod your head like this, and I just say yes. And we talked about how you ask questions in Swahili. If you're asking about who, you do say nani, who. For example, who took my bag? you'll ask, nani amechukua mkoba wangu? Nani amechukua mkoba wangu? Who took my bag? Who took my bag? Then that would be nani amechukua mkoba wangu, because we talked about that last week, and we did say nani simply refers to who. So if you do say who took my bag, who took my bag, then that will be nani amechukua mkoba wangu. Nani amechukua mkoba wangu. That is simply how you would ask. So if you've been with us and maybe perhaps you learned with us last week, then perhaps I think you wouldn't be floating. You would actually have an idea how you get to ask questions. And it's very, very easy, and you can simply use that particular word, who, sorry, nani, N-A-N-I. But if you're talking about what, N-I-N-I, that is what. So you might say, what took my bag? No, what caused for example, if it's a situation where there was a road accident, you might ask, what caused a road accident? So you would ask, nini iliyosababisha ajali ya barabara? So what simply is nini iliyosababisha ajali ya barabara. And someone can actually say that maybe it was because of an error. That the driver did get into, or maybe it was because of something else. But nonetheless, we move on. Today we shall get into the introduction of the grammar in Swahili, which is very much important. The introduction of a grammar, Swahili grammar, which is very, very much important. This is the grammar. Let me try to share my screen with you, and you can see what I'm talking about. So this is in the lesson 2, Swahili grammar, nouns, the verbs, and the adjectives, and we shall also be looking into the spelling and the pronunciation of our words in Swahili. When we talk about nouns in Swahili, we call them nomino, N-O-M-I-N-O, nomino, or we also call them majina. And the noun can be the name of a person, it can be the name of an animal, the name of a place, the name of a thing, the name of an event, the name of an idea, and forms one of the basic parts of speech in any language. I don't think there's any language that would perhaps exist, without nouns. And we do have what we call the noun classes to help us understand better. We do have the noun classes in Swahili, and these are known as ngeli za nomino, all the classes of nouns, or ngeli za nomino, or namna za nomino, all types of nouns. And there are 9 noun classes in Swahili, and each noun class has both a singular and a plural form, and to make the total of 18 noun classes. And we get straight into some of these noun classes and examples of them. For example, if you're talking about the names of the name of a child, the name of a child in Swahili, it's called, we do say mtoto, and the noun class under which this noun falls is known as the wa, and the that has to do with the first consonant, or the consonant in the singular, the consonant in the singular. So mtoto. And when you go to the plural of it, we do say watoto, and therefore we do have that syllable wa, the syllable wa. So that forms a noun class, the wa, the singular and the plural, sorry, the singular and the plural. For example, you might also say mkulima. Mkulima is a farmer, and if you're talking about the farmer went to the farm, you would say mkulima alienda shambani, But the word mkulima falls in the wa class of noun, which means that the word starts with the syllable, the consonant in the singular form, and then it starts with wa in the plural form. It starts with in the singular form, and then starts with wa in the plural form. And it's not really difficult. If you try and talk about most of the words that have to do with living things or living beings, most of the time you do find them falling in that particular category. You can even have, for example, the word mwalimu. If you're talking about a teacher, mwalimu. Mwalimu is a teacher in Swahili, mwalimu, and you do find the consonant in the singular, and then in the plural, you would have walimu, which means teachers. For example, you may talk about a good teacher, and therefore you have a noun and an adjective. You would say mwalimu mzuri, which means a good teacher. But if you're talking about many teachers, many good teachers, you would say walimu wazuri. That is how you do get to say it. And those are examples for the first noun class, which is the wa class of noun. In Swahili. When it comes to inanimate objects, we talk about things like a knife, a stick, a spoon, things like that. Most of them do fall in the second class of nouns, which is the key V. So in the singular, we do have the syllable ki. That is what it starts with the syllable ki. For example, kijiko. Kijiko means a spoon. Kijiko simply means a spoon. But if you're talking about many spoons, we do say vijiko. Vijiko. So you might have the word kijiko, nipe kijiko, nataka kula chakula. So that would be, give me a spoon, I want to eat some food. If you're talking about a stick, which is also another inanimate object, you would say kijiti. But in the plural form of it, you would say vijiti. So you might talk about mwalimu alichukua kijiti. The teacher took a stick. Or you might talk about the teachers took sticks. That would be walimu walichukua vijiti. And any word which starts with the syllable ki, any Swahili word which starts with the syllable ki, then that falls in the key V, the key V class of noun, and we call them Gali za nomino, all namna za nomino. Remember, when we were in class last week, we talked about jina. Jina is a name. But if you're talking about names, like for example, you do have a list of names. You do say orodha ya majina, a list of names. But if you're talking about one name, we do say jina, but for many names, we do say majina. Majina is for names. So when we talk about nouns, we can also call them majina nouns. We can also call them majina nouns. We can also call them majina nouns. We can also call them majina. So today we are learning our Swahili grammar, and we do say a name is known as jina. A name, if it's singular, we call it jina, but if it's many names, we do say majina. For example, if I want to say my name is Spikes, I would say jina langu ni Spikes. Jina langu ni Spikes because it's one name. But if I was talking about names, I would say majina yangu. Majina yangu would be, and I'll give you all my names if that was the case. But we go back into learning these noun classes. Remember, you can always ask a question. Uliza swali. Let me share my screen here. You can ask a question. Feel free to ask a question. Remember, we also live on a Rumble, and we are live on a BitChute. So you can also drop your comment on there as well. I will try find that comment as well and respond in case that is a question, or in case that is also a comment that you just happen to want to share with us in class. Swahili is not a new language. Swahili actually is a very, very old language. Swahili is actually a very, very old language. And Swahili is older than the Arabic language. That is for a fact. Some people might say, "Oh, Swahili is a mixed language with the Arab and Arab and the Bantu language." But Swahili is older than the Arabic language, and therefore you cannot really call it an Arabic language, because if someone was there like hundreds of years before another something else, how can you then say that this other thing happens to be a mixture of the other? But nonetheless, we go to the third class of nouns. And the third class of nouns we do call it the me class of noun, the me class of noun. And this is, for example, also for things like, for example, with natural, and natural features. For example, a mountain, a river. Some of those do fall in the me class of noun, and we shall have many examples of these so that you can get to understand some of these. Hi, Keith.
Sunday there, Spikes. What's happening?
It's all good. I can't really complain. I do hope that your week has been wonderful.
Nah, it ain't been good. I've been in snow and shit's been pretty fucked up.
You should have had someone pray for you. You remember that preacher that went to pray for Trump at the inauguration? You should have had him.
You talking about that outrageous Negro who was going all crazy and black preachers, Spikes, always got to act like they got a bug up their ass. Always over the top.
Yes, he was actually overdoing it, and I was wondering what's going on, and everyone was looking at him crazy, wondering what is going on. But the guy was trying to get some clout, because I think later on he went
that's what these Negro preachers do. Of course, yeah. All over the top and crazy.
Yeah. He went on to promote his crypto coin. I don't know if you saw that video after he did that prayer, and he got all sorts of attention.
He was trying to promote his Judge O'Brown hot sauce.
No, he said that he has a crypto coin, and he has his what was his name? Lorenzo Sewell.
I didn't watch that shit, Spikes. I can't watch no moron hopping. You can share it, but I couldn't watch that moron hopping up and down. I was too busy doing Trump's inauguration. I was down in that was Monday. I was down in Miami and Naples. I was down in South Florida. It was cold as shit down there. Like, God damn. Am I in Miami or am I in Minnesota? Shit.
Yeah, it's crazy, but the good thing is that you are safe, and everything is going on just fine. I was looking for that video. Let me see if I get this video. Yeah, it's right here. Let me see if they have it here.
Yeah, everybody was talking about him being over the top. I didn't see it. Everybody's been commenting how he said how crazy he was going. Yeah. Always got to be some Negro preacher going crazy.
From the snow-capped Rockies of California, but we're asking you not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee.
Look at them behind this lady here. The second lady here?
This is a low-budget MLK impersonation. He's a low budget MLK.
Yeah, he was trying to get his money quick.
From every hill and every molehill in Mississippi, from every state, every city, every village, and every hamlet. And when we let freedom ring, we will be able to speed up that day for all of your children. Black men and white men, Protestant and Catholic, Jew and Jew.
That's that Martin Luther King speech. Come on with that garbage. You know, my people think we're like, who invited this nigga? Who invited this nigga here? Who put this nigga on? They all look Trump and look. Who invited this nigga? Who invited this nigga right here?
Yeah, they're just wondering what the heck is going on.
Gentile will be able to sing in the meaning of that old Negro spiritual. Free at last. Free at last. Thank you, God Almighty. We are free at last. If you believe with this.
Look at Trump's face, Spike. Look at Trump's face like, who the fuck is this nigga here? Look at his face of disgust. Who the fuck is this nigga here? Who's this nigga here?
There's this I don't know who this is, but he actually is trying to see who is like, looking, and also Elon Musk here on the side.
It is retarded.
And everyone else, the League of Billionaires here behind you.
It's like the oligarchy that actually run the country. The oligarchy, not no damn democracy. These oligarchs and shit. And Trump was like, God damn, I'm about to fall asleep. Who invited this nigga? Is it time to eat yet? Is the buffet time yet? When somebody tell this nigga to hurry up with all this shit.
Give him his butter biscuits and let him exit
That's
the
right.
stage.
That's right. Yeah. Give him butter biscuits. Get his ass out of here.
The Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Come on, put your hands together and give your great God great glory.
You know, after that nigga, like, who invited this nigga? Who invited this nigga here? Whoever invited him, you're fired. Who invited this nigga? They got a clap until yeah.
I was trying to find the video where he was talking about his crypto. Could I get a video of his
crypto? About cryptocurrency too?
Yeah, he was saying people should buy his crypto and promote his ministry. That is exactly what he did after this prayer. After getting the cloud. That is exactly what he did. Let me show you. Zero crypto.
No, we're not buying your crypto, moron. We're not buying your crypto.
Let me show you
every church, every hamlet, we're not buying your crypto.
This is him. Let me show you. The video here, and zero crypto.
Like, hey, make sure the next 4 years, I mean, do not invite his ass back here.
I want you to be able to see politics become manifest, not just in a way where we're praying over political gatherings, but where we're seeing us become the hands and the feet of the Lord Jesus Christ. Would you help me? Would you help us? Would you go and purchase the coin in order for us to do what we
need? No money for your crypto, nigga. No.
Go copy yourself the crypto, the Lorenzo Sewell crypto, and support this group prayer.
We do in the ministry. We do transportation, housing, education. We heal medical, mental, and dental illnesses. I need you to do me a favor and go and get that coin in order for us to accomplish the vision that God has called us to do.
Not getting no coin. No.
I think.
Why you in there ask Jesus to give it to you? Don't get it from Jesus, nigga.
The reason why black people will never get ahead is always there are black people trying to hustle. Black people
hustle each other. Exactly. Always a new. Exactly. Never nothing substantial. Always some hustle nigga shit. All the time. Always. It's always some scamming shit going on. How about you build something real, and then people can actually get shares? I'm not buying your goofy coins. We put money in, but you make a real business. We have some shares in it, and we all benefit from its returns, moron. And then not responsible. All you Negroes always talking about Jesus all the time. No.
It's always a hustle. There's always a hustle there's always a hustle somewhere. Many of you find like the leaders.
Can you go to Kenya and pray over my potato farms I bought out there? Can you do that? About 6 acres out there in Kenya.
That is a problem.
And I didn't get it from Jesus. I had to give money to the Kenyan government. I couldn't say, Jesus said I can get this land. They told me, get your ass out of here. You got that money?
He'll probably share that idea with Al Sharpton. So the next thing you hear is Al Sharpton coin, and that will be the new.
Disgrace. Ain't nobody buying Al Sharpton coins. He's so disgraced. Ain't nobody buying Al Sharpton coin, Spikes. That coin is worthless. So you hear the name Al Sharpton, like what? Who? What? No. They're already showing you the door. They're kicking you in the butt. Get out of here with that Al Sharpton shit.
That would be the next hustle. That would be the next hustle. There's always a hustle somewhere. People go, they follow someone in the name of a leader, and the next thing there's a hustle. Then that movement is dismantled after the hustle happens, after the coining happens, and it's it never ceases. That's like a whole cycle every other time. People move. They talk about now this is a new black leader. He's the truth. and then they follow him, and then at the corner there's a hustle there. But anyway, let's go back to
hustle here, hustle there, hustle everywhere.
Let's go back to the names, the Swahili names, and now we're talking about what do you do have as the nouns? The nouns, the name of a place, the name of an idea, the name of an object, the name of an event. All these are nouns, and we do call them majina or jina. Jina is a singular form, which is jina. But if you're talking about many names, we talk about majina. And for example, we talked about the name of a river. This falls in the me class of noun, the third class of noun, which is the me class of noun. If you're talking about a river, you do say mto, M-T-O, mto. But if you talk many rivers, we do say mito. That is the third class of nouns. Mto, mito. And for example,
hold on. So you said Munto, Mito. Say it again. Yeah, sounds
so M-I-T-O. Mito is the name of rivers. If you're talking about many rivers, for example, the River Nile, the River Limpopo, the River Zambezi, you talk Mito, M-I-T-O. The other day, I was watching this video by you call him? Sheikh Diop.
I don't know. You was watching. Sheikh Diop.
Sheikh Diop, and the currents and how Black people left Africa, how they go to Europe. How they go to the America. You're talking about the currents. The currents that do come up, and these currents, of course, these are the same currents that people were planning. Were planning. If you're planning a trip, then you'd have to wait for these particular currents. But anyway, that video was
go back and forth from the Americas to Africa.
Yeah. Those particular currents, and I was talking about. It was not at the very first time the Africans were going to the Americas. It was just
the Africans were in Americas thousands of years before the Europeans even fucking came out the caves. Thousands of years. That's why all the civilizations over here were Africans. They try to keep lying, and Columbus and all that shit. Columbus don't get over here to 1492. The Africans had already been coming across this place for thousands of years. Thousands.
So when you talk about Columbus, who do you think who was funding Columbus' exploits? Who was?
Columbus is a whole lot. So I tell you, he was Italian. He's not Italian. He was a Spanish. He was a Spanish Jew. His name was Colon, not Columbus. They made that whole name because they want you to know he was Jewish. He wasn't Italian. He was in the north of Spain, probably. What was that kingdom called that the Moors didn't conquer? The Africans didn't conquer. Aragon, I think it was a Bastille. He came out of the north of Spain, so it was Bastille or Aragon, and he was funded by the king and queen of Spain when they took back. That's why he leaves in 1492, because the whites had finally taken back all of what was called Andalus, and now became Spain from the African. So that was Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. So because they got the information from the Africans who were going back and forth. This is the real history, not the shit the white man races mix up. The real history that they wanted to know that the Moors had already told them that they've been going over to Americas for generations, and it's gold and setting up civilizations in what they call, it wasn't the New World. It was through the white people. It wasn't through the Africans. Africans already been going back and forth. So they got a hold of all these Moorish maps, these African maps, when the last Moorish kingdom fell in Granada. The last city fell. The last African city fell in Granada. So after they finally got all of Spain, all of Al-Andalusia back, all these papers of the Africans going to Americas, what they call the Americas now, was learned. So they wanted to go find out where were these niggas going, and where's the money at over there? Because remember, Europe is broke. Europe is poor. They're having enough food to feed each other. They're impoverished. They're backward. They're damn most of the people are uneducated, so they wanted to send their people out for new lands so they can feed themselves. Remember, all of Europe, they were fighting. They really eating all their animals. Remember, we don't start getting extension to white in Africa of animals to white people show up. Remember, so because they'd already killed all the animals, Spikes. They'd already eaten all this shit up. It is savage. Killed everything, and then let things re-damn birth themselves and repopulate it. Same when they came to Africa, what they start doing? Start unaliving all the animals. Everything's on a damn extinction level. The African knew how to live within his environment without killing every goddamn thing. So the African lived there harmoniously. So them leaving out of Europe, they virtually had to, because Europe had no resources. They had no food and shit. They were starving. They were dirty. They were stupid. So they unleashed them onto the world, and so they got these Moors, these African papers. I mean, there's lands west there across the ocean. And so that's when they started learning how to finally build boats. They got from the African. They taught the Africans about this is how you build ships. They got better at it. And so that's what led them over here. So that's what happened in 1492, because the last kingdom fell of the Moors was in Granada.
But the Portuguese had built the boats before the Spaniards. The Spaniards, right?
Because they got free first. Remember that it wasn't no Portugal. That was all the Africans control. It's called Al-Andalus. And so the first before Spain became a country, that was part of Spain, a part of Al-Andalus got free of the Moors about 200 years prior to the other part of what we call Spain getting free. So they get their own kingdom in Portugal. But all that knowledge of shipbuilding was there because the African brought it to them, taught them how to build ships. Because Europeans didn't know shit. They were backwards. Stupid, dumb, ignorant. That's why we call the castles coming to Europe. There were no castles in Europe. They were living in barns and shit, sleeping with animals.
And also for people that had come from the Moors, that had not even the Moors, the Egyptians that were moving along the River Nile, you'd have had to learn to make the mode of transportation for you to move along the Nile.
It depends on what time period you're talking about. When the Africans ruled it, the Moors are just the Africans from Kenya, Ethiopia, Abyssinia, Egypt, Sudan. They're just a reclassification of Moor. Moor just meant black. It's not like a group of people. It just meant black men and women, right? Moor is just a description of these people who came out of. So when the white Arab, the white Turk, when we come Arab, the white Turks invade Egypt in like the 6th century, the 5th century, and forced Islam on the Africans. Said, it was Islam or die. They had this, so Islam or die, nigga. Islam or die. So a lot of the Africans just adopted it, and as they move across northern Africa, that's when you get these people that never, these white people, these white Arabs you see there today, think that they're indigenous to Africa. They know that's the invasion. So you got the Africans being pushed further westward, and then also coming up from Senegal and Mali, they sweep into what we call the Iberian Peninsula, which is later become Spain, but at that time it's just called Iberia. And then the Moors the Africans renamed it Al-Andalus, walking in the light. And then they fight the Europeans for 700 years and shit. So one part of that territory gets free, that becomes Portugal, right? They had that one part. Because the blacks still control the majority of it, and then the northern part is free. That becomes Bastille and like I said, an Aragon. Those are those northern white kingdoms. Of which they push all the way down, reclaiming that whole Iberian Peninsula that becomes Spain and Portugal. But it took them 700 years to do it, because the Moors go in there in 711. The whites finally get it all back in 1492. That's when Colon takes his ass over to America, because now they got full control of the Iberian Peninsula, renamed it Spain and Portugal. So all the technology they got, the Moors, remember, at that time they become what? Remember, the rest of Europe is still, we don't see Spain as Portugal as a real power no more. Remember, at that time they were the real powers because of being what? Because of the teachings of the Africans. The French were fucked up. English was still fucked up. They were poor, impoverished countries. Germany was fucked up. So who comes out of learning from the Africans as the power of the world? The Portuguese and the Spanish. But their rabid racism spikes. They want to get out. Let's get these niggas all out of here. Remember? So they decide, so they don't realize that when they expel black people, the knowledge leaves. So within a generation, they go from the leaders of the world to look this low budget countries hanging on and shit, hanging on. Because that's when France and England surpassed them because they had the teachers of the African. Cambridge and Oxford were created by Africans, not by white people. They always say the Cambridge University and Oxford. That's created by the Africans. Create that shit for them because we're nice and kind. We create them universities to teach them. So with them constantly learning the damn the Europeans that were in Spain and Portugal, they start falling out because remember they expelled all the black people and then started enslaving them. The original Moor slaves were taken to Haiti. A lot of them that didn't get out during those wars that were captured. The Spanish and the Portuguese enslaved them, and that's where you got a lot of the new the Haitians. Not all of them, but a lot of the Haitians are descended from those very same Moors. Of course, with the other Africans, they brought later from Congo, Nigeria, Ghana, Angola. It's a mixture. But a lot of those original slaves that lost in wars with the Spanish were enslaved and sit over with Columbus to be slaves in those countries. Slave dance.
But from a linguistic perspective, I would love to know whether they are like the Spanish language and the Portuguese language, whether there are similarities and how
it is similar. If you know Spanish, if you understand Spanish, Spike, you understand Portuguese because it's the same area. So and they also derive they derive out of what we call Latin, right? Latin, which is coming out of Rome. And also German, because they were Germanic people. So remember when Spain is taken over by white before the black people get the Germans come in and take it. So your kingdoms, those were German people. So Spain, when it was called the Iberian Peninsula, those are Germans that came in and took it over, and they ruled it like for 200 or 300 years before the African got there and wiped and conquered their ass. But the African goes in and conquers these Germans. So they're Germanic people. So you had a German as a German. They see back then they were tribal people. So the Germans break up in all these different tribes. So they become your French, your Spanish, your Portuguese, your British, your Dutch, your of course your German, your Rus, your Russians, your Netherlands. I mean Scandinavians. They become your Scandinavian, which are your Swedish. Your Norwegian, so all that shit. But the Germans, the Germanic. That's why all the language can be traced back to Germanic languages, traced back to Latin, traced back to Africa. So when they say, you niggas, and all languages came out of Africa. Because we were the first people that only spoke. All languages are traced back to Africa. Because we're the original people. They ate that. We're the original people.
Even the Chinese. Even the Chinese, even the Mandarin, and these are the languages around the world. They all trace.
Your first Chinese kingdoms are African. Not the motherfuckers see that. The first languages of China are African. The first leaders of China are African. These are African kingdoms, like Japan. First leaders of Japan are African people. They're African. So the Chinese don't even dispute that. They try to hide it, but they don't even dispute. They know that Shang. And all that shit probably comes out of Swahili, which goes back even older. Because that's why you can have some Swahili language you can understand it through Chinese. A lot of these languages in what we call the Horn of Africa, between Swahili and that original Abyssinian, which is now Ethiopian, you can understand the Chinese in it because that's where it came from. Because those Africans moved out and out throughout Africa and civilized that area and created your first Chinese dynasties. So that's why it's called Shang Li, your first Chinese African dynasty. I think it's Shang Li, Shang Hao. These are African. The creation of Chinese culture is African. The creation of Indian culture is African.
So that is why it is important. That is why it is very important to have an African language that you can speak, because it actually also takes you all the way back.
Yeah, because you hate yourself. That's why the hate comes. That's why you don't teach your history. Your Indian culture started by these people you see there today. That culture started by the Africans. The Kushites coming out of Sudan and northern Kenya. Indians created by them. They don't want you to know those facts of history. So everything they built is about racism. From white people controlling, everything's about race and lying to people and making up and obfuscating history. But once you start digging up shit, you always find a black motherfucker dead with bones. That's another nigga covered up. Dig it up again. Who civilization was this? Is another nigga that dead. It's me, African. Oh man, bury that shit again.
We shall get into history as we move along, but let's get back a little bit into class. Let's get back a little bit into class. But yes,
that's why I know your history. That's why Swahili is so important. You take back that beautiful language. You're not ashamed no more to be who you are. The languages go with the history, and Swahili is a beautiful language, beautiful. But you Africans were told to hate your own language. I'd rather speak English. Do you speak English today? Yes. English is a recent language.
You're breaking up a bit, kid. I don't know whether it's my internet or it's on your side. I think it's on my side.
Yeah, it's on you. It's on your side.
No, it's on my side.
I said,
it's on my side.
You get most Africans being out because they've been conquered mentally. I speak English. I speak the King's English, and they're proud to speak English. Or I speak the King's French. Papa say, Papa say, Papa say.
You know, the thing is, the thinking, all the what people do think that if you speak in that King's English, that you're sophisticated and you're educated and you're wise. But if you cannot speak the colonizers' language, then you're a fool. You know, for example, there is one of the MPs here who is a member of parliament. He's not very, he does not speak English well. So they do say that he is actually not wise. But the thing is, you're measuring someone's IQ or wisdom based on how well they can speak.
And that's why they think they got better IQ, because you're not speaking their goofy language, which is new. All their languages that you go through linguistically goes back to Africa. Goes back because English and French goes back to German. German goes back
undermine you. People will actually undermine you if you cannot speak French, or if you cannot speak German, or if you cannot speak English.
If you not speak these new languages brought to you by your colonizer. And that's how they get their big IQ test, which is fake. You don't speak my language. Your language is a baby language. Your language ain't old. My language is ancient. So it has more, it's been around much longer than you. So how me speaking not understanding your language has me with a fucked up IQ. You talking about? You new to the planet, not me. Your language is new. You can look this up with quick spot.
Yeah.
How old is New English? It came in more like 200 years ago.
How old? You say how old?
How old is New English?
New English.
Because Old English is closer to German, because that's what comes out of German. Because that's the German language. It's like the French language.
Let me see the results that pop up here. Let me see what they do say.
Because they got
modern English, also known as New English, is considered to be around 500 years old. That is what
but I ain't even that old.
The result.
So that's what
500. That is according to Google.
Yeah, that's when they started learning again, started getting re-educated, because they were morons. The Europeans couldn't read or write. They were illiterate. So they had to make a new English. They started creating new words. So you can't tell me you're more sophisticated. Your language only goes back 500 years, because it's new. Because most of the shit
they say the language. They say their language is divided into 3 periods: Old English, Middle English, and a modern English. That is what the results here say.
Yeah, because
English is divided into 3.
Because Old English is really nothing more than German, because they're Germanic people.
But for how about the Arabic? The Arabic language, I think sometimes about you're talking about the Arabic language. How old is
every language only about 1,400 years old? It's another new language. Because when they gave them these morons this fake religion, they had to create a language to go with it. That's why it's not ancient. That's why you had Jesus supposed to speak in Aramaic and not Arabic, because Arabic didn't exist. They created a whole language. They were creating this good religion. You know, you create a language with it because that is what slave to the religion. Because if you grow up speaking Arabic, you think, okay, of course this is my religion. Of course it's my. You don't know that when they created the religion, they created the language. And you know most and Arabic thing with a real language, because you know most these people that say they speak Arabic, the language is completely, the dialect is completely different, Spikes, from place to place. The dialect is different. Arabic is different from Saudi Arabia than it is in Iraq, than it is in Morocco, than it is Libya, than it is in Egypt. It's an amalgamation of bullshit. But since they came in and conquered you, you think this is a great language with all this. Like, what? You got your fucking mind. You don't know history. Not a great. That's why you can talk to somebody from Libya, from Lebanon. They don't even understand each other, and they're supposedly both speaking Arabic. And all they did when
different.
Yeah, different dialects, because it's made up. They made up on the fly. What they did, this is the secret. So they would remember these white people. They were just like the other white people up there in Europe. They couldn't read or write. They were illiterate. Illiterate people for generations were Africans. So also they come into Kemet, and if you look at the demonic script of the Kemets, that becomes your Arabic. They take those writings and then make it in like that cursive writing. Then they start creating that language out of that shit. Just comes out of Africa still.
That is to show that at the end of the day, African languages do have these are superior. These are the superior languages, and this is what.
Once you create a language, Spikes, all languages got to come from it. Languages, those languages are African. But you've been since you got colonized, they dumbed you down. Your language is always the superior because your language is the starting place. You're the first starting place of language, starting place of writing the language, and the first. Once you make an alphabet, you can't make more alphabets. The alphabet is African.
And apart from even the language itself, even when talking about things like mathematics and calculations, you know, for example, the Shango bone, which was found in the Congo 20,000 years ago, shows people still understood numericals and the numbers.
Mathematics is African. All scientists come out of Africa. They steal it. They try to get some fake. They don't even like the but they race. They don't like the Greek. They don't say the Greeks are even really white, right? So they name all these Greek people who studied in Africa for 20 and 30 years. The Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras studied in Kemet for 20 years. The African, not these Egyptians. You got the black man taught Pythagoras for 20 years. So that's the African theorem. So Socrates studied in Africa for 15 years. His stuff. I got this shit from Africa. And when he took it back to white people, they murdered him. They said, "What? You talking about being kind and loving? Get out of here with that shit." But they keep going back to is that they created. It's all African. All this stuff is African.
All what they do is steal and take credit for things they haven't found, like Columbus, the Socrates, the all these the people
like I don't think Aristotle, and they make up a lot. So I don't think that Aristotle even existed. He wrote thousands, all them books came out of Kemet, out the libraries of Kemet that they stole. He wrote this man back in 2000, 300 years ago wrote 5,000 books. How? Every day you had to write a book a second. Spike, you had to write one book. A whole book a second. Your whole life.
There's somewhere I think they claiming that he had students, and those students were now responsible for writing writing the
They knew black. You always hear this lie. You say, the Moors brought back in the antiquities of the Greeks. But it was the Moors that taught the Greeks. So why are they bringing them back their information when the shit was there to begin with? They always try to throw white people like, the African, all they did was bring back the information of the Greeks. No, they brought their own information back to your head because it was theirs to begin with. That's where the Greeks got it from. They didn't give you back your Greek information. It was theirs to begin with. So that's when they listen how white people talk about the Moors, because they didn't want to make them black. They tried to make Moor means black. They tried to make these are the white Arabs are Moors. No, they're not. Morisco. Here every
also,
has.
I know for the writings. What they could instill. I know for the writings and for the scripts, what they could instill and carry, they burnt down. You know, with the
because the Nazis, they burned down the Alexandria Library like 2 or 3 times because they didn't want that information. So you go back in a dark age, because that was thousands of years. Those books were written over 1,000 years. They wouldn't hear. Those books were written over 1,000 years of knowledge that the world lost. Thousands. The African had sat down and studied and learned, just gone. So now you in darkness, because you don't know all that knowledge has been lost. You just got rid of all of it. Some of it's not with the Moors, but imagine the shit that was lost. The Africans were advanced.
That is knowledge in astronomy, knowledge in spirituality, knowledge in mathematics, knowledge, all sorts of.
Remember, they called it all one. That's where the term that the university came from, because you had universal knowledge. It all came under spirituality, mathematics, spiritual, astronomy is spiritual. It's universal. That's where the term university came, because the African believed in everything as a whole, not the European mind. It wants to make everything in compartments. Everything's not the African. Understand everything is one. Everything is the whole. Everything has a universal basis, right? So that's where the term university came from, because that's how the African studies, how the African learns. That's the African's world view, that we're one. And we study things as a whole. Everything's a piece of the whole. Okay, astronomy, this is one piece of this whole. Mathematics is just one piece of this whole thing. Architecture is one piece of this whole thing. All is connected. So that's why the term university was created. Because the study of the universe and everything is all one. And the creator is all one. So what the African was trying to do, what is my relationship with the creator? That's one. What is in mathematics, science, spirituality? This is just all one. So it became 7 liberal arts, trying to get yourself a well-rounded education of oneness, of wholeness. The education is to make you whole. That's why they come. Them is always me. Can I steal what's mine? Me, steal.
That is destruction. That is destruction, destroying everything that they can get their hands on. Destroy
their minds. When they try to claim Africa and Kemet, that's not their mindset. So you only argue with no white people think they were ancient Egyptian. Your mind doesn't work like that. You believe mine, me, mine, individualism. Kemet is anti-individualism. It's we work as a group, which is always African. Ubuntu, I am, you are because I am. In cooperation, not competition. That was clear. Africa is cooperation. We go further together. You believe mine, steal. African them thought you can go knock somebody here and steal their shit.
Steal everything and put in your museum and call it and give it a different name. Exactly. Put it in your museums. Yeah, steal it, put it in your museums, change the names, change how it looked like. You can whitewash it and everything else, so that now the language, the history, and everything changes.
Because you linguistically, they don't hate that linguistic. That's why most of these morons don't know anything linguistically. Because as you do linguistic science, it's always go back to Africa. Always. They hate that. Get that shit out of here. God damn it.
If you actually went, for example, to these platforms over there, for example, the UN General Assemblies, you find even African leaders, they want to use, you cannot speak Swahili there, you want to now use English, you want to use, but for these other people, they are very language. For example, the Russians will not be on the Russians will not be on a global platform speaking in English or whatsoever other languages. They will speak in their own language.
And guess what, Spikes? Guess what? Guess what? The modern Russian language was created by a black man, by an African. Look this up. Yeah, fucking you up right now. Alex, look this up on Google. See if they lie. Say Alexander Pushkin, the creator of modern Russian. Alexander Pushkin, the creator of modern, the creator of the modern Russian language, because the Russians used to actually speak French. Their aristocracy didn't speak Russian because their language was fucked up. They spoke French. A lot of people don't know that the rest of high.
They're saying on the let me see what they put up on Google here. They're saying yes, Alexander Pushkin, the creator of the modern Russian language, has significantly developed and enriched the Russian language.
Because they Russians spoke French. See, that's the history that you're supposed to know. The Russians didn't like it. Because the Europeans were just learning language. The Russians spoke the French language, but the France can't invade their ass. They're like, fuck, we can't be speaking French, and these motherfuckers keep invading the spikes. They're our enemy. We can't be speaking our enemy's language. So, African Alexander Pushkin created what you call modern Russian, the African. It should tell you he's an African there.
They haven't. They wouldn't put that on. They wouldn't put that on here.
I got to just ask Google. Say, was Alexander Pushkin of African descent? He'll tell you anything about that because most of the moronic Europeans don't even know that. They're not about that. Was he of African descent? Yes, he was.
They're saying he was a mixed race. They're saying that.
He's virtually more African than he was mixed. You might, because we're all gonna be mixed. Because it's like me. I've been raped. My family got raped as slaves, so I probably got like 5% white people in me. That's him. He's got like 10 white people, but he's an African. So
his ancestry, they say, was a present-day Cameroon.
So how mixed is the Cameroon? Exactly. His ancestry is African. Right.
Yeah.
He's the creator of the Russian language.
That is something they will not put up and be very proud of when they are talking about the languages. And but I was saying we have lacked pride in our own language.
They'll call you a dumb nigger. You dumb nigger.
We have lacked pride in our own language. That is why when we are in those global meetings or global forums, people would rather speak French. For example, it has to do something with the mind because inferiority, that is the thing. Because you do have that, you do suffer the
everybody's language spikes, and you still got an inferiority complex. Something wrong with the African mind. You creating all these languages, all the languages go back to you, and you still you got to break the inferiority complex you got. You got to break that. So shout out to Ray. You got them get them wigs out of here. We got to go back to that. We can't have these inferiority complex wearing white people wigs up in here. Hey,
That is the court. That is in the courtroom. That is in the courtroom where they do have these wigs that they put on. But I think Burkina Faso really banned that. I think that Burkina Faso
because you got to take back your mind, Spike. You can't be a powerful country. Africa's a future. You can't be powerful with your mind fucked up, Spikes. You got inferiority. You got inferiority problems.
For the former president of Tanzania, who was talking about adoption of Swahili as the official language of the continent, so that people can even have these being the language being used for the forums.
Yeah, because for example, it's the biggest language in Africa, so it should be adopted by force. You got you got speaking French. No more French speaking here. The children, so it says children learn everything easily. You put in all the children's classrooms, and within a generation, everybody can speak to each other. Like within 15 years, I can speak to Cameroon, Senegal, Mali, Burundi, Burkina Faso, Rwanda.
Even South Africa, they were trying to have some teachers go to South Africa and teach them Swahili there. Because I think it will bring that sense of an African pride, having Pan-African spirit and also that pride in our own language, because that is also going to break those barriers, because language is one of the biggest barriers. People fear if I go to Guinea-Bissau, I will not be able to communicate with these people in Guinea-Bissau. If I go to maybe Senegal, I will not be able to communicate. So that is also become a very, very big barrier when it comes to the integration, African integration and people just integrating from different parts of the continent, even from maybe Brazil and other parts of the world. When Black people want to integrate and become one thing, language becomes a big barrier. But nonetheless, one here, yeah. It becomes a big challenge. But nonetheless, let's continue. Go back to learning these nouns and the verbs.
Let's learning this beautiful African language called Swahili that we are very proud of.
It becomes a language of the future. Only if we embrace it.
It is a language of the future because the Africa is a language of the future because of the booming birth rate. Africa will rule the planet within 30 years. Sorry. If you listen to them bits, you upset. Africa will rule the planet in 30 years. I'm going to be an old man, but I'm going to be alive. Like, God damn it, that's right.
My wish is that even Nigeria adopts this language faster because we do have the biggest population on the continent in Nigeria. So I would wish even Nigeria back.
You get past the tribalists, they fight right now. They fighting right now in Nigeria, Spikes. The universe trying to throw all the Igbo out of Lagos right now. You Igbo man.
No, that's a problem. That's a problem because they know that if Nigeria gets its act right and everyone is towing the line in Nigeria and they are actually on one accord, speaking the same thing, working around the same thing, then the rest of Africa would have to follow. But
they're the most. I hate to say, Kenya's now the big dog on the block, Spikes. I'm sorry, I've been saying Nigeria's not. I don't care about they populate. They're not gonna act right. They're not gonna do right. You got to understand, Kenya's at a certain point where they find the first African country. The African youth have lost their fear, and they're the ones that are now rejecting this tribal bullshit. That's the Kenyan youth. So that's why everybody's buying the Kenyan youth. So it's not Nigeria. Kenya's now the big dog on the block. Kenyans are now the king of Africa. That's just the fact.
When it comes to population, Nigeria, I think they will hit the billion mark in not Nigeria, but Africa will hit the billion mark in 20.
Doesn't matter how big your population is if you're a bunch of morons.
You remain underdeveloped and united. But let's proceed. Let's continue with the class here. And we shall be talking about the grammar in Swahili. And we were saying that in Swahili we call nouns majina or nomino. And we do have 9 classes of nouns or 9 categories of nouns. And these are named after the first syllables in the singular or the first syllable in the plural form. For example, the second class of nouns, we do call it the key V. And these mostly constitutes the class of nouns that refer to inanimate objects. For example, a spoon, a stick, a chair, and things like that. For example, if you're talking about a chair, we do say kiti, K-I-T-I, which refers to a seat or a chair. And if you're talking about the plural form of it, we do say viti, V-I-T-I. And therefore, this is an example of an inanimate, the example of a noun, which falls in the second class of nouns, which is the key V. And this constitutes all the nouns that start with the syllable key in their singular form, and they start with the syllable V in their plural form. And I've given you an example of kitty, viti. Kitty is one chair, but viti refers to many chairs. If you're talking about a spoon, one spoon, it's called kijiko, but many spoons, we do call them vijiko. If you're talking about, for example, a stick, you do say kijiti, K-I-J-I-T-I, kijiti. But if you're talking about many sticks, we do say vijiti. And therefore, that is a noun, an example of a noun that falls in the key V class of noun, which is in that second category. But if you go to the third category, we do talk about the me, and I had already gotten to these, and I'll give an example of a river. When talking about a river, we do say mto. And if you're talking about many rivers, we do say mito. If you're talking about a mountain, this mostly refers to natural phenomena. A mountain, we do call it mlima, M-L-I-M-A, mlima. But if you're talking about many mountains, for example, Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Elgon, if you're talking about many mountains, we do call them milima. So for example, if you're talking about Mount Kenya, we do say Mlima Kenya, which is Mount Kenya. But if you're talking about many mountains, we do say milima. So that is an example of a noun that falls in the third class of nouns. So we might go into the fourth class of noun and illustrate examples of words that start with the syllable G, which is a J-I in the singular form, and they do start with the syllable ma in their plural form. For example, we talked about parts of the body, and I will give an example of the eye. If you're talking about one eye, we do say jicho, Jicho. But if you're talking about many eyes, you talk about macho, M-A-C-H-O. And if you're talking about my eye in a sentence, you might say, my eye is hurting, or my eye is aching, and you would say, jicho langu, my eye, jicho langu linauma. And if you're talking about my eyes are hurting, or my eyes are aching, you do say, macho yangu yanauma. That is an example. And now, for example, and if you want to go into the next category, let's go into the next category, which is the nouns or the words in Swahili that start with the consonant N, the consonant N, or the consonant N. If you're talking about, for example, a banana. In Swahili, we call banana ndizi. If you're talking about one banana, you call it ndizi. But it also happens that if you're talking about many bananas, it doesn't change. It remains the same. So it remains to be ndizi as well. So ndizi moja, that will be one banana. But if you're talking about ndizi mbili, that will be two bananas. It does not change. It remains the same, whether in the singular or whether in the plural form of it. Ndizi, it remains to be ndizi. And if you go to the next category of nouns, we do call it the OO class of noun. They start with the vowel O in their singular, and also the vowel O in their plural. For example, if you're talking about Uzi refers to a thread. But if you're referring to many threads, it does not change. It also remains to be Uzi. It remains to be Uzi. Sorry, that will be Uzi. That is how you do say Uzi, and goes to in their singular it starts with U, and also in their plural it starts with U. The other simple class of a noun is kuku, K-U-K-U, the syllable ku in their singular, and the syllable ku in their singular, and the syllable ku in their plural. For example, there is a crow. There's a bird which we call kunguru. There's a bird which we call kunguru, and I think this happens to be the crow. Kunguru, the crow, which is the black bird with a white. It's like a tie. It doesn't have like a tie on its neck here or on its front here. So that would be a crow, which is known as kunguru. If you're talking about one bird, which is a crow, and if you're talking about many birds, it does not change. It remains to be the same. If you're talking about, for example, a chicken, we call it kuku, K-U-K-U. It does not also change. If you're talking about one chicken, it's called kuku. If you're talking about many chicken, then it remains to be the same. It remains to be kuku wengi. You might say kuku moja, which is one bird or which is one chicken. But if you're talking about many chicken, you do say kuku wengi. So the only thing that helps you differentiate between one chicken and many chicken, we do say chicken, kuku for chicken, K-U-K-U. That is kuku for chicken. And if you're talking about one, we do say moja. So if you would say one chicken, that would be kuku moja. But if you're talking about many chicken, that would be one chicken. It does not change whether in the singular or whether in the plural. It does not change. So you would say one chicken is kuku moja. But if you're talking about many chicken, for many, when you talk about the plural of something, Wengi means many. Wengi means many. So you would say kuku wengi. Kuku wengi, which is many chicken. Kuku wengi, which is many chicken. Kuku wengi, many chicken. Chicken. And also these also applies for many apply for many things. For example, if you're talking about self, you're talking about a human being, you do say mtu, mtu, mtu. Mtu is a person, Mtu moja, moja is one person. But if you're talking about many people, you do say watu wengi, watu wengi. So wengi does not change. Watu wengi. So wengi is just that word that you remember. Talks about many. In talking about living things. That is many people. That is simply what you use, and you do say that is watu wengi, many people. So for example, if you're talking about nimeona, I've come across many people leaving the store. You would say nimeona watu wengi. Ona is to see. So you would say nimeona. Ni refers to like self. The ni, which is a syllable ni, points to self. So you would say ni, nimeona watu wengi. Nimeona watu wengi. I've come across, I've seen many people. I've seen many people. I have seen many people. For people, you do say mtu. Last one, you're learning about greetings, how you greet people. If you're greeting one person, you normally do say hujambo, H-U-J-A-M-B-O, hello to one person. But if you're greeting a group of people and there are many, there are more than two people, or there are two people, you do say hamjambo. There's an M you add there, you do say hamjambo, because this is a greeting to a group of people. So you also note that there's a difference there. Is hello, but to a group of people, Hello, but to a group of people. So that is how you would say hamjambo, habari zenyu. If you wanted to ask someone how are you, and if it's one person, how are you in Swahili, you do say habari yako, because yako means yours, and yours is referring to one person. But if you're talking about to a group, we would say habari zenyu, habari zenyu. So that would be hello to a group. How are you? But to a group of people, to a group. So I think you should know that there is that particular difference. When you say hello to one person, it's hujambo, habari yako, which is hello, how are you? But if you're saying hello to a group of people, you would say hamjambo, habari zenyu, which is hello to a group, and then habari zenyu is how are you to a group of people, habari zenyu. And you might ask, mpo salama? Salama simply means well. Or okay. So therefore, if you do ask mpo salama, MPO, mpo salama, then that will be asking, are you okay? Are you well? All okay? All okay to a group of people, which is to a group of people. And they might respond, and they would say tupo salama. They would respond and say tupo salama, which is we all okay. Tupo salama is a response. That would be a response. And they would say tupo salama. But if someone asks you upo salama, and that is to one, they're asking you, that is a direct question to one particular person. Upo salama, UPO, salama, upo salama, upo salama, then they are asking, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And you can always respond and say yes. Yes is in the affirmative, which is yes, ndio. Or you might say apana. Apana simply means no, I'm not okay. If someone asks upo salama and you do say ndio, then that would mean you are okay. But if you do say apana, it's simply understood to be no. So if someone asks you upo salama, you might say no. Sorry, you might say apana, which simply means no, you are not okay. Sipo salama, sipo salama. That is how you refer to that. But going back to announce, it's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's not difficult to understand the nouns. It's quite easy. And you just have to know the categories. You just have to know the categories. Know what they translate to in the singular form, in the singular, and what they translate to in the plural. That is how you do it. For example, if it's about mtoto, mtoto is a child, mtoto is a child, it's a noun for a child, So mtoto starts with that consonant and then you do have the syllables toto, toto. That is in the singular, but in the plural form we do say watoto. So that is for children, and therefore this word falls in the wa class of noun. The wa class of noun. The wa class of noun, simply because it starts with the wa in the plural. The plural starts with the in the singular and starts with the wa syllable in the singular. So it falls in the wa class of noun. So there are many things that we have given examples of. We have talked about mtoto. We have talked about mwalimu is a teacher. We have talked about mwanafunzi. Mwanafunzi is a student. Mwanafunzi is a student, and then you would say wanafunzi. You would say wanafunzi for students. If there are many students, a group of students, that will be wanafunzi. So this particular one falls in the or class of noun. It falls in the or class of noun because in the singular it's mwanafunzi, and in the plural it becomes wanafunzi. So it falls in the or class of noun. The or class of noun. Up to that particular point, if you do have a question, please ask. Up to that particular point, if you have a question, please ask, and I would be more than glad. To respond to you. I would actually be more than glad to respond to you. And in case you do have any kind of a question, feel free to ask, and I will be more than glad to respond to you. In Swahili, we do say swali. In Swahili, we do say swali for a question. And if you're talking about an answer, we do say jibu. So it's J-I-B-U. That is for jibu. But if you're talking about a question, we do say swali. And it's not difficult. If you do have a question, I would love to respond to you, and I will be more than glad to answer any question regarding some of what you've learned. Maybe what you've learned today, or something that you might have learned last week. I would just be glad to respond to you in regards to anything that you have learned. Last week we talked about the common courtesy words. We did say that if you're talking about thanking someone, we do say asante. If someone has extended a courtesy to you and you just want to tell them thanks, you do say asante. If you want to welcome someone to your house, you do say karibu. Or anywhere you want to welcome them to your workstation or wherever, you do say karibu. Or to your house, we do say karibu. If you want to emphasize a lot, we do say sana. So therefore, if I do say asante sana, that is simply understood to be very thanks a lot. If you want to emphasize and say a lot or very, you do say sana. So you might say karibu sana or asante sana. Karibu sana, very much welcome. Asante sana, very thanks a lot to you. And we have said that in case you want to plead or request for something, you simply just say tafadhali, which is a please, tafadhali, and this will be a prefix for any request. You might be use it as a for any request. You may say tafadhali nipe kalamu, and therefore that would be you asking for a pen, and someone would actually hand you the pen. And if they handed you the pen, you would actually say Asante or Asante Sana. Asante or Asante Sana. That is how you respond to them, and you thank them for handing you a pen, or for giving you for handing you, or for giving you, or responding to a request that you have made to them. We shall take a short break, and as we do, remember to check out www.BlackHotFireNetwork.com. This simply is the official network website. And once you are on the network website, please head over to the store page. Once you are on the store page, you'll find a whole collection of apparel that you can buy for yourself or for your loved ones. That might be a hoodie, it might be a t-shirt, it might be a baseball hat, it might be a beanie, it might be whatever item that you might might interest you. Kindly head over to the network website. It's www.BlackHotFireNetwork.com, and click on the store page. Click on the store icon here, and once you click on the store icon, there are two things that will pop up. The sports center, we can find the nutritional goods, nutritional supplements, and things like that. And you can click on the apparel store. When you click on the apparel store, let me show you. You click on this. If you click on the network apparel store, it will take you to a whole list of wonderful items that you'll find there. For example, you'll find the t-shirts, you find the hoodies, you'll find the sweatshirts, you will find unisex athletics long shorts, you can find the beanies, the sleeve button shirts, you can find the men's lights, you can even find a BlackHotFire Network flag, and you can purchase that. And the best thing about these items is that you can also pay for these particular items bit by bit, through installments. You can get yourself a jacket here, the name Shepherd jacket. You can get yourself a tie-dye hoodie. You can tie and dye hoodie, and you can also get yourself a snapback hat right here, and you can pay for those particular items bit by bit by choosing on the installment payments option. If you click on the first option here, it will actually take you to the nutrition items page, and you will find yourself things like supplements, iron supplements, calcium supplements, magnesium supplements, and things like that. You'll find protein and blends. You'll find amino acids and blends. You'll find beauty supplements. You'll find food and beverages, and these are items that you can get for boosting your immunity, boosting your health, and things like that. Vitamins and minerals, you can click on these, see what you do have for the multivitamins. You do have the vitamin D3 for $19.90. You do have the green superfoods, the complete multivitamins, the beer. All these other wonderful items that you can purchase on the official network website. It's very, very easy. You just add them onto your cart, and from there you would be able to get them delivered to your address. So that is actually a very, very good look. Anyone that has a question, please feel free to ask. We are learning about the nouns today, and if you do have a question regarding the nouns in Swahili, I would be more than glad to respond to you, and I would be happy if you did get to be interactive with us right here on right here with us on this particular class. So the number 8 class of noun is the Papa class of noun, and this refers to all Swahili words that start with the syllable pa in their singular, and they also start with the syllable pa in their plural, and they are also very, very easy to comprehend. For example, parachichi simply means refers to a fruit, and this is the popo, refers to the popo. So if you're talking about one popo, you would say parachichi moja, but if you're talking about many popos, you would actually say parachichi mingi. Parachichi mingi does not change. And now we go to the 9th class of noun, which is the mu class of noun. The mu class of noun. This refers to all the nouns that start with the syllable mu in their singular, and also the syllable mu in their plural. For example, muktada simply refers to a summary. It refers to a summary. So if you're talking about a summary of items, you would say muktada. you'd actually say Muqtada. But if you're referring to many summaries, then that is also Muqtada in that regard. And of course, that is the last class of nouns. You might find also other platforms talking about more than 9 noun classes, but nonetheless, for our case here, for the sake of our learning here, we shall use those 9 noun classes. They are no different. Another thing that you ought to remember is the vowels. There are 5 vowels, and I will talk about A, B, O, U. 5 vowels. We do not have more than that. But when it comes to consonants in Swahili, they are mostly contested. And some people will tell you that there are 28 consonants in Swahili. Others will tell you because of the other special class of consonants that they are more than that. And always feel free and let us know how you feel about those particular ones. Swahili is not difficult. If you're learning and you're watching us like on a Rumble, you can drop a comment on there. And if you are actually watching us from a BitChute, also feel free to drop a comment on there, and I will be able to respond to your question. If you do have any question, feel free, so that I can take the questions as we come to winding up this particular class. Let me know if you do have a question. Just drop it on the comment box. Just drop it on the comment box right there on Rumble, or on the comment box on a BitChute. I think you can also be able to do so, and drop your comment on there. So for those who have been interacting with our classes, it's very important that you learn Swahili with friends, colleagues, with family, because it's very easy for you to learn a language with people as opposed to just learning the language by yourself, because you want to converse with someone. Language is about communication, and you're communicating to people. It might be your colleagues, it might be your family members, it might be your friends, it might be there are different people that you can converse with, and try out your Swahili on these particular individuals, so that you become more conversant with the language at the end of the day. And remember, Swahili is spoken widely, not just in Kenya, not just in Tanzania, but even in places such as Zambia. Even in Zambia, we do have Swahili speakers in Zambia. Even in the DRC Congo, there are so many Swahili speakers in the DRC Congo, as well as also Rwanda and Burundi. So in case you're planning in the course of this year to travel to Africa, especially East Africa, then I think these classes are likely for you to engage with us, to learn with us, because this is a language of commerce. For example, in Tanzania, the language of commerce. In Kenya as well, if you're trying to purchase something or sell something, then Swahili is a language of commerce in East Africa, and therefore it is very, very important for you to also learn this language, and to also just be able to interact, and also connect with the roots, with the language. And remember, on the July 7th, that is when you do have the International Day of Swahili, and it's very, very important that you are also able to join the rest of the world in celebrating Swahili, because this is a language of the future. And if we are united with this language, then we are able to come together and build together as an African people, as a Black people, globally, anywhere around the world. It might be in Brazil, you might be watching or checking out these classes from Brazil. You might be checking out these particular classes from the US, or even from Europe, and you are interested in learning the language. I think it's very, very important that you also join a network of friends who are also learning the same, and we are your network of friends, or we are your family who you can learn Swahili with right here online, and also on the official network website, which is www.BlackHotFireNetwork.com. Check it out, subscribe, turn on the notifications. You can download the app, which is available on Play Store, the BlackHotFire Network app on Play Store, so you can get these regular notifications on when we're having classes. During the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, that is when you can join us on Saturdays and also on Sundays to catch up with the Swahili classes right here on the BlackHotFire Network. Remember, we do the classes live on a Rumble, on a BitChute, and also on YouTube. For now, if there are no questions, I think we shall be ending it there. If there are no questions, I believe we can end it there. But if you do have a question, feel free. In case you want to write us an email, you can write to blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com, blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com. You can request for notes. You can share your questions on there. Let me just put it down and I'll share it on the screen. In case you do have a direct question to ask, you can write to me, BlackHotFireAfrica@gmail.com, and I will be glad to respond to you regarding any issue when it comes to all matters learning Swahili. So there it is, BlackHotFireAfrica@gmail.com, and we're coming live from Swahili, from Nairobi, and it's always wonderful to have your company. So thank you so much for joining us today. I do hope that you're also able to join us for our next class, and you are also able to join us on the official network. It's www.BlackHotFire network. And once again, let me share this screen and show you how you can also get interactive. Let me show you how you can get interactive, because there's a whole lot of resources on the network. Apart from news, there's a whole lot of resources on the network, which includes the shop or the store. And you do have African and news. You do have news and sports from the US, international news, US Black news, international sports, business, science and technology. And there is also that particular bit that you click, which is a social. You click on this, the social. You click on the social, and you join the social network for the BlackHotFire, the social network for the BlackHotFire. And you can join a community of like-minded individuals. Expand your network on this particular platform. You just click on register, and you can put your username and your password, and you are able to access the resources on there. In case you want to support the network, click on this tab, which is the donate, and you will be able to. Am I sharing this? Let me see if I'm sharing. Let me know. Am I sharing this? I'm sharing this. So you can click on this social and join the network community, which is a wide community of like-minded individuals. We do say iron sharpens iron, so you'll be able to join the network here. In case you want support, click on this tab, the donate, and you can also support the network. And in case you just want to chill and listen to the live radio, you can just click on this and enjoy easy listening with the best hip-hop music on there. For now, it's your humble spec signing out. Till next time, much peace and love. I want to wish you happy and a productive rest of the week. A little bit under the weather, but I do hope that next week I'll have recuperated. I'll be well. But I want to wish you a productive rest of your weekend. Till next time, much peace and love. I will say kwaheri.